Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be going over the changes and updates to the Astrologian job that are coming in Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Shadowbringers. This information comes to you from the North American media tour that I recently attended. As such, all of this stuff is still in development and still subject to changes. The effects, the numbers, all that stuff could be different. So I'll have a watermark at the bottom, and with that, let's get started. Now the core skills that make Astro a healer are all pretty much still intact. However, with Shadowbringers, the entirety of the card system has been completely reworked to make Astro a little bit busier and to try to give a purpose to all 6 of the different cards. Now, like I said, a lot of Astro skills did stay the same. Their basic heals, their basic DPS skills, a lot of their cooldowns, all the stuff listed on the screen right now has remained mostly identical. However, with the rework of the card system, some of their basic stuff that involve their cards and their buffs have been removed. Spread, Royal Road, Empty Road, Undraw Spread, and Time Dilation are all gone. With that, the majority of the new skills actually have to do with the card, so let's cover the new and adjusted skills that have nothing to do with the card system so we can just talk about all the stuff that's related to the cards all at once. A big thing for me that I was really glad to see: Gravity's level 45. I'm so happy. That's the one change I needed to see the most. Celestial Opposition now no longer extends buffs. It seems they're trying to do away with that to keep Astro being a little bit more active with their cards. Celestial Opposition is just an instant AoE heal now that also gives an aspected effect based on whatever sect you find yourself in. There's also only a handful of new skills that don't have to immediately do with the new card system. Combust 3 and Malefic 4, I'm sure you expected to see those. There's a new single target version of the new Celestial Opposition. This one's called Celestial Intersection, and it's just a single target heal plus an aspected effect based on the sect. They also gave Astro an effect that kind of mimics the White Mage's reworked Plenary Indulgence for 5.0. What happens is you place a horoscope buff on yourself and nearby allies. Once you press horoscope again, you'll trigger it and it'll instantly heal the people who are affected by it. However, the heal is strengthened if Helios or Aspected Helios is cast on anyone who is horoscoped, so you'll generally want to use this right before you're going to do AoE healing anyway. Then you'll AoE heal once and then you can pop this for even more healing. The final non-card related ability that they learn is their level 80 skill, Neutral Sect. This increases their healing magic potency by 20%, but also allows Aspected Helios and Aspected Benefic to benefit from both diurnal and nocturnal effects for 20 seconds once every 2 minutes. So with the non-card related skills now covered, let's talk about all of the changes to Astrologian's card system. For one, all 6 of the cards we had before are still present. However, they now all provide a damage buff. It's not just the balance you're going to be fishing for anymore. I guess they realized all we were fishing for was balances before anyway. So by giving every card a damage buff and also giving them an additional effect, which will determine one of your other skills' effectiveness, that now they've given value to all 6 cards. So for the balance, the arrow, and the spear, they all provide a 6% buff to melee DPS players and a 3% buff for others. The bowl, the ewer, and the spire provide a 6% buff for ranged DPS and 3% for any other role you place them on. All these cards are single target, and they also each grant a different type of seal. The balance and the bowl grant a solar seal, the arrow and the ewer grant a lunar seal, and the spear and the spire grant a celestial seal. I do want to throw this out there. The job action trailer had the wrong names under the cards, and people thought that it was calling out the next card that you were going to draw or redraw. It was just a typo. I was messing with you in the job action video, and I apologize, but all it was a typo there. It just says the card that you currently have. Now, with all those additional effects, they also made changes to the remaining abilities that have to do with drawing cards. For example, Draw now goes on cooldown as soon as a card is pulled. This is because they introduced a new skill called Play, which is a separate button from Draw. So it just allows you to not have to worry about Draw's cooldown not resetting because you didn't play a card fast enough. You now have all the time to make the proper decision with the Play button. Redraw still works the same, except that it now stores up to 3 charges. So if you're having really bad RNG, you could actually use it over and over again to try and get the desired result, assuming you have the charges. Minor Arcana also saw a complete rework just like the rest of the card system. The result is now entirely normalized. You will always draw the Lord of Crowns if you're exchanging a balance arrow or a spear via this ability, and you will always draw a Lady of Crowns if you're sacrificing a bull, ewer, or spire. Also, the effects of those two cards have changed. Lord of Crowns used to be an offensive spell, and Lady of Crowns used to be an OGCD heal. Now they are both stronger damage buffs that do not generate seals. The Lord of the Crowns is an 8% damage buff to melee, 4% to others, and the Lady of the Crowns is an 8% damage buff to range and a 4% to others. This is really good if you're trying to specifically fish for a certain seal, and you don't want to have to pull a seal, but you still want to be able to give damage buffs to everybody, or at least to a specific player. This allows you to do that without getting yourself in trouble for one of your other new abilities. The next ability that saw a big change is Sleeve Draw. This now resets draws recast immediately and grants you 2 stacks of Sleeve Draw after, which will reduce draws cooldown to 3 seconds when a stack is consumed after drawing a card. This has a 3-minute cooldown, but what it means is you can basically draw 3 cards back to back and try to fish for all the seals that you need, or just throw out a ton of damage buffs for the party. Up until now, you've probably been wondering what all those different seals do since we haven't made mention of them. Well, they're all involved with this new skill, Divination. This is the final new skill that we have to talk about for this video. It's essentially a one-stop shop for what would have been an AoE balance. It increases the damage dealt for yourself and all nearby party members when you cast it. However, the strength of the damage buff depends on how many different seals an Astro has. Now, on the build that we got to play, it was 3% if you had no variety in your seals or if you had at least one duplicate, and it was 6% if you had one of each seal. So if that manages to stay, Astros now have to keep track of the seals that they've pulled and make sure that they get 3 different ones every time Divination comes off cooldown, which is once every 3 minutes. So with that, we've covered all the changes to the cards, we've covered their new abilities. I mean, that's it. That's what's changed for Astro. It doesn't seem like a lot since we actually got through the video very quickly, but it should mean that Astro has a lot more active decision making on top of having a little more time to actually make their decision without seriously hampering the cooldown on drawing another card. I found it to be quite satisfying as I played through with it, and definitely a lot more thought-provoking as I had to keep in mind which cards belong to who and which seals they actually gave. All the cards felt like they mattered, and all the decision making I had felt like it mattered more. I also forgot to quickly mention traits, but they're pretty much all the same. The only trait that really changes anything from what we just said is that Essential Dignity can now store 2 charges with the trait. It's got a pretty long recharge time though, so it's probably not going to be too often you find yourself with 2 charges for it. And that's going to be a wrap for my video on the updates to Astrologian. I've been doing this in a lot of videos, so you're probably sick of hearing it by now, but shout out to the Final Fantasy XIV content creator community who was in attendance to the Final Fantasy XIV North American Media Tour. I had forgotten a bunch of traits, I had maybe not gotten the right footage of things, and so I've definitely been getting some help from them, especially for a lot of the screenshots of things you see, and I want to give them their proper dues, especially because a lot of them are creating content around this stuff as well, and you should definitely go around and see what else everyone has to say about the stuff from the North American Media Tour. Anyway, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and check out my other videos as well, of course. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one, and until then, take care.